How I learned the art of not giving a f***. Take one. Yeah, f*** you.
How's it going? I'm Justin Kahn from Justin.tv.
What's up, guys? This is Justin Kahn, your favorite founder's favorite founder's favorite founder. You get the idea. I'm back with another video. We're gonna do this one on how I learned to not give a f***. If you're constantly twisted over what's going on in your life, this is the video you need to watch to find real peace. People look at me and they're like, Justin, you're so confident, you do whatever you want. I guess that's true now, but it didn't always used to be like that. Actually, it gave a lot of before. I was primarily concerned with what other people thought of me, which is a very onerous way to live your life. Don't recommend it. But if you're in that space, you probably don't know how to get out of it. And so that's why you should watch this video. I probably had two major paths to not giving a f***. There was everything I did before I realized how much of a f*** I gave, and then there was everything I did after. The first thing I did was fake it till you make it. So I actually gave a lot of f***s, and that came from when I was a kid. I didn't get the attention that I felt like I needed from my peers and people around me. I always felt like an outsider looking in, and I wanted to be liked and valued by the people around me. As an adult, that played out as, really everything I was doing, I was desperately doing to try to get other people to like me, including being an entrepreneur and trying to be successful and make money, etc. The very definition of giving a lot of fucks. I had this concept of the type of person I wanted to be, which is somebody who was just kind of on their own path, doing whatever they wanted, an entrepreneur, blazing their own trail, writing their own stories. So like I was trying to live the life of someone who didn't give a fuck, some sort of like startup entrepreneurial Hunter S. Thompson or something. Even though I really cared what people thought, I went through the motions of starting my own company and telling myself and other people around me like, oh, I'm just making, I'm my own boss. I get to do whatever I want to do. Really making everything about like kind of being a rule breaker and blazing my own trail and like really defining my own path. I was kind of on the direction of like trying not to give a fuck, but I really did give a fuck. Because secretly I really cared what people thought. Really the good part about this, like kind of setting my own path up, was that I did put myself in all these positions where I became a lot more confident. That confidence slowly over time built more comfort in myself. So, I'd have to hire people or fire them or define my own path or like take risks. As an entrepreneur, all of those things made me just more comfortable with uncertainty, with problems. Being an entrepreneur, you always experience countless problems. It's like endless things go wrong. So eventually you get desensitized to it and you stop being so worried or having so much anxiety over like the day-to-day. That's just the natural course of like if you stick with something that's challenging enough, you become desensitized to it. So putting myself in positions where I desensitized myself was really important. That was kind of like everything that I did before I was super aware of how much of a fuck I gave. And then I told this story before, but I did ayahuasca for the first time. Ayahuasca ceremony, I realized this deep truth that everything I had done in my adult life I'd done to try to get the attention and approval of people around me. That's why I was addicted to checking Twitter, seeing if like people like my tweet or I want to be a famous entrepreneur. And so after I made this realization, I was like, well, that's number one, not a very attractive realization to make about yourself. But I could also love myself for that because it had led me to work really hard and eventually become a successful entrepreneur and gave me all these opportunities to learn, including the opportunity to first drink ayahuasca. And number two, I realized, I can show up any way in the world if I want to. I don't have to show up as the person who always cares what other people think or is choosing career paths or things to do based primarily on what I think other people will perceive of me if I become successful or whatever. So that's when the true turning point happened and I really started to not give a fuck anymore. What are my recommendations? The first is to pursue modalities in your life that can help you turn the subconscious into the conscious. What do I mean by that? Whoever you are out there, you are experiencing in your adult life, probably the case that you are living out patterns that were formed from your environment when you were a kid. So in my example, I didn't feel like I got the attention I needed when I was a kid. And so as an adult, I did all these attention-seeking behaviors, right? And I wasn't even aware of it. You probably have some other set of traumas that you experienced when you were a kid, and then now you're living out as an adult. And the first step in really being comfortable with yourself, which I think is like the cornerstone of not giving a fuck, is to be comfortable with who you are and just accept it. You don't have anxiety about it. You don't need it to be any different. You just accept this is who I am. The first step in that is to even know who you are, right? Take the subconscious and turn it into the conscious. So what are the ways that you can do that? Some of the things that I did. Number one, ayahuasca. So plant medicines, including ayahuasca, are very powerful ways to reveal what's inside of us. Now, there's a lot of caveats and warnings. It's a very serious undertaking, so I don't necessarily recommend that everybody out there run out and do it without any information. I'll link a podcast I did with an ayahuasca shaman below, but that's one powerful modality. All right, guys, quick commercial break. Today, my video is brought to you by Magic Mind. Magic Mind is a energy shot that you take in the morning alongside or in replacement of your morning coffee. And it gives you consistent, clean energy throughout the day. If you're an entrepreneur or creative in need of that mental boost, then Magic Mind's for you. It's something I take every day. In fact, I love it so much that I invested in the company. My friend James started this company a couple of years ago to solve his own problem, and he's really built a product I think is incredible. If you want to try Magic Mind out, you can get 20% off with my discount code Justin20 at magicmind.co. I really like Magic Mind because it gives me great energy throughout the day. It's filled with adaptogens and nootropics that help you focus and make you relax and taste great. Once again, if you want to try it out, go to magicmind.co and enter the code Justin20. I'll link it in the description below. Thanks. Another is therapy. I went to years and years of therapy to even understand what my emotions were and what they meant and be able to communicate about my emotions. That was another modality that really helped me be more comfortable with my experience. I used to feel a lot of guilt or anxiety, especially when it came to my startup. And instead of having to escape from those experiences, I became much more comfortable with acknowledging, yeah, I feel guilty right now. I feel anxious right now. And that's okay. That's part of who I am. So once you turn the subconscious into the conscious, the next step is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to accept who you are and just be okay with whatever your experience is? So there's a bunch of things. I've talked about a lot of them. Meditation is one. So being able to put that break point in between your experience or whatever your trigger is, including internal triggers like your thoughts, like I'm not good enough, or I wonder what this person thinks about me. And then reaction. You ruminating further about that could be one reaction, or you saying, oh, I can't deal with this anxiety, I need to go get a drink or whatever. So with meditation, you start to realize that you as a human being are going to have all sorts of experiences. You're gonna have thoughts, you're gonna have feelings, you're going to have the physical sensations that happen, things that happen to you in your life. And some of these you're gonna perceive of as difficult, things that happen to you, and some of them are gonna be easy. Right? And they're going to be joyful. Some of them are going to be sorrowful. Some of them are going to be hard. One of the most important directions that meditation drives us to is acceptance or equanimity, peace with what is happening in your life. Instead of I think of life like a river of all these experiences flowing by. And instead of being in the river, meditation helps us be on the banks of the river, just observing what is happening instead of being sucked along and swept along by these experiences. So I like to say every day, every morning, I tell myself that I want to be like kelp. Kelp is my spirit plant. And I like kelp because kelp is in the ocean, and the waves of experience, whatever is happening today, wash over, but kelp is like firmly rooted into the sea floor, and so it like kind of goes with the waves. It's like blowing with the ocean currents, but then the tide comes out and it's like stays firmly rooted. To me, kelp is kind of like the ultimate, like, doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't matter what the weather in the ocean is, what the currents are like. It just always stays firmly rooted. So meditation is one of the practices that help me the most. And another is just like acceptance of who I am, and accepting like every part about like what's happening with me, what's happening inside my experience. So that looks like even saying, I have this urge to look at my phone and check Twitter and see if people responded to this tweet I just sent. Instead of judging myself for that and saying like, oh, Justin, that's like, why do you give a shit what people think? Actually, flipping around and saying, it's so funny, like you care so much about what other people think. That's kind of funny. And it's like a unique and hilarious part of being a human being, is to really care what other people think. And that's something that's natural. And in fact, it's programmed in us because we've evolved that way to care what the people around us think, because it helps us function as a social group. That's the way that we evolved, and it's completely natural, and it's just a funny consequence of being a human being. And instead of sitting with judgment about myself, I'm able to say, oh, that's just like a natural thing, and it's kind of funny, and I can let it go. I think that's it. It's pretty simple. The key to not giving a fuck, to me, is acceptance. Just accepting what is happening, accepting that you don't necessarily have control over everything, both external, like the things that are happening in your life, and internal, even the thoughts and feelings that you have. Whatever your experience is your experience. And what causes us distress is not necessarily the experience itself, it's actually our reaction, our internal reaction to that experience. So we might stub our toe, and that's, some pain, but then us being like, fuck, why did I kick that? Why wasn't I looking where I was going? Why did this happen? Who put this log here right in the middle of the road? All of that downstream is what gives us pain and turns it 10x. And so when we accept what our experience is and we accept who we are, that's when we really are just like, it is what it is. I don't really give a fuck. And to me, that's the key to peace. All right, I hope that helped you. If it did, you're welcome. If it didn't, well, you got what you paid for. This is a free YouTube video. If you liked the video, smash like, subscribe, turn on video notifications. I'll be your best friend forever. I'll see you guys next time. Boom.